Hey all, welcome to Aussie Reefs. In today's episode, I'm going to show you 3 brand new innovative products for your reef aquarium. All right, thank you for joining me on another episode of Aussie Reefs. And this one I'm really excited to bring to you guys because there's 2 things I really love in this world. One is reef aquariums and another one is getting behind Aussie manufacturing and some people doing some really innovative things. And more often than not, the 2 paths get to cross. In this episode, I get to showcase to you 3 things that have been made in Australia that are really changing the aquarium hobby for me. And they're quite a diverse range of products as well. So let's jump on into the first one, which is going to fix an issue I've been having with my tank for some time. My good friend Adrian Yap has printed out these incredible MP60 replacement covers. Now, I know those of you out there have seen covers that go over the top of your Ecotech Vortechs pumps, whether they be MP10, MP40, MP60. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of those. They end up becoming really bulky and I find they cut flow back drastically. I have started to see, particularly overseas, some people 3D printing covers that replace the factory cage on your MP10, 40 or 60. But that being said, there haven't really been a lot for MP60s. I'd seen a lot for MP10s, MP40s, which is no good to me. I run MP60s and after the fairly tragic incident of having a flamehawk come and sit on a MP60 right in front of my daughter and then get dragged into it and slashed to pieces, I started off on the hunt for something that's going to give me a little bit more protection over my high flow MP60s without restricting them too much and without looking ugly. Thankfully, Adrian has come to the rescue and he's 3D printed these covers. I've been running one on the far end, my MP60 there, for a month now, and I have to say it has not impacted flow, has not changed the flow pattern, has not restricted things. If anything, I know it's only been on there for a month, so it hasn't grown quite as much coralline algae as the other ones that have been on there for nearly a year, but if anything, I think it actually looks better, and it's a direct replacement. These little covers, you screw the old ones off, you screw these on, they're going to work as simple as that. They got the little shaft locator and the end of the housing there. It's not going to impact your MP60, 40 or 10 at all. So I'm pretty keen to fit the remaining 3 of these up. I just wanted to test one on the easiest to access pump first, and I'm pleased to say after a month it has passed with flying colors. Now, Adrian will be selling these via Deer Park Aquarium. They will range from $30 to $40 around that mark. Final pricing has not been set yet, guys, but you can expect them to be around about that mark depending on whether it's an MP10, 40 or 60. And personally, I think that's great value. The ability to be able to just have a spare, take one off and put it in some citric acid to clean up whilst putting a new one or a cleaned one on, so you don't have to worry about having your pump off for half a day while you're cleaning or trying to rush it or anything like that, is money well spent in my case. But the fact that it doesn't have those huge slits in the side where, if you have a look at my MP60s that are on the tank now, they just get filled with trochus snails, which end up restricting the flow quite a lot. In the month I've had one of the 3D printed ones on with these holes on the side, I haven't had a single snail end up getting stuck in there that I have to free out or just let him live there for eternity. So that's been a huge revelation for me on my reef tank over the past month, and I couldn't wait to share it with you guys. Let's move on to product number 2. All right, product number 2 has been some fish foods, and I must admit, I'm not a huge pellet guy, but there is some real convenient features with pellet foods. Being able to just have them stored somewhere without being in a fridge or a freezer, being able to grab a pinch and just add it to the tank at any point in time is very, very handy. My concern with pellets is I really struggle to find one that all of my fish like, that they either don't just stay floating and go into the overflow, or they sink too quick and the fish aren't interested in them. Finding that right buoyancy and also that right mix of nutrition and proteins and beneficial goodness to the fish has been quite a challenge. Now, the company DRP Aquatics reached out to me and said they've got a range of fish foods they wanted me to try. I was like, sure, I'll try your fish foods. And then they said they're pellets, and I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, sure, let's send them out, check them out. I can honestly say, hand on my heart, and I'll show you, I'll feed each one of the 5 different sizes to my tank in a second so you can see how much my fish enjoy them. They've been quite amazing. Now, I still am not a pellet guy. I still feed pellets maybe once a week, and it's only when I can't be bothered getting my fingers dirty with frozen food or even using up some liquid food, I'll just add a pinch of pellets. But knowing now that these work as well as they do, I will be looking into adding in an auto feeder to this tank so that I can just add a small bit of pellet in the middle of the day, just when well, hopefully when I'm back at work and I'm not home, so that my fish get that good consistent source to food without picking at some of my LPS or something like that. So I'm going to show you how these go in the tank now. We'll feed the fish and I'll let you make up your own opinion. There's 5 different types. They're for all different sizes of fish. 1 and 2 are primarily for breeding a fish, but I can tell you now, even the big fish go crazy for the small ones in my tank. So let's showcase them. All right, here is DRP1. Now, I'm not going to go into the ingredients of every one. You can find all that information on their website, but you can see it is a very, very small little pellet compared to the size of my finger. Ideal for feeding fry and little baby fish. You can also crush that up so it gets even smaller than that. And likewise, DRP2 is just a little bit bigger, but again, is primarily made for fry or very small fish. The one I find myself using the most is this DRP3. It seems to be in the sweet spot for all fish. Even my little baby clowns are grabbing one of these chunks and taking off like they're Bruce Bogtrotter or something out of the movies. But the big fish will go after these, the little fish will go after these. Seems to be pretty sweet. The DRP 4 and 5 are obviously getting a fair bit larger in pellets. In fact, the DRP 5 almost looks like a little dog food. The pellets are that big, but I must admit, working at the local fish shop, I have had quite a few people asking for big pellets, and the way that all fish go after these, I think these are a pretty good option. Now, the other thing to point out, these are Aussie made and they are quite affordable. DRP 1 and 2 are I think about $30 per these 250 gram sachets, and let me tell you, 250 grams is a heap of fish food. It's like a lifetime supply unless you're running like a breeding program. DRP 3 through to 5 are only $22 per 250 gram packet. So personally, if it was me out there, I'd probably grab 1 packet of the DRP3, and that's going to do your pellets for most fish tank enthusiasts for many years to come. But you might want to try out some of the different sizes with your fish. But enough talking about it. Let's add each one of these to the tank in sequence, starting off with DRP1, going all the way up to 5, and I'll get you some footage to show you how much my fish enjoy them. All right, I'll open up the hood. You can see the fish are hanging around. They know something's up. They know they're about to get a feed. Let's start off with DRP1. I'm going to grab some fresh bits of that out of the packet, grab a pinch of that, and add that into the fish tank. I reckon this is just going to make them go crazy because the food is so fine. My big guys just swim around like mad. As you can see, the tangs are just sort of not knowing what to do with themselves. The chromis and the antheas clean it up pretty well, and the buoyancy of the food is perfect in that it doesn't sink straight to the floor, doesn't float, it just hangs about in the water column long enough for the fish to gobble it up. So even though the DRP1 is really made for breeding fish, I still find it drives my guys wild. So let's move on to DRP2. Put a pinch of that in. Again, you can see the buoyancy, it's quite nice. Hangs about in the water column long enough to ensure the fish go into an absolute feeding frenzy, which I've got to say is pretty rare for a pellet. Now this one is my favorite, DRP3, which I'm just trying to grab some off that plate so I don't waste it. You can see how nicely that just sits in the water column, really slow sinking. It doesn't even make it to the sand bed because the fish clean it up very quickly. Going up 1 size larger to DRP4. Now my big guys have got a chance because it might be slightly too big. No, you can see the antheas and chromis are still smashing through it. And last but not least, the big boy, DRP5. This is the one that is too big for the antheas and chromis. They'll still have a crack at it, but you can see the big guys really come into play on that pellet. But the smaller guys still try to steal it from them, but there's a fish food size for each and every fish that you've got in your tank. Personally, I find number 3 to be a great mix for your small fish all the way through to your big fish, but it is going to depend on what your tank needs. One last thing I'll point out just before we move on to the third and final product is I've just added 5 decent pinchfuls of pellet to this tank, and I've had a bit of a look around the sand bed. I cannot find a single pellet remaining. The fish cleaned it up, and it says in the packet to only add as much as the fish can eat in 3 to 5 minutes. My guys took probably 70 to 80% of the food in 3 to 5 seconds, and then in the feeding frenzy, they found the remaining percentage and cleaned it up. So It's a fish food that isn't going to go to waste. It's not going to go to just polluting your tank. Your fish are going to eat it. And the other thing is, I'm not sure if you can tell from the footage, the colors of my fish are absolutely incredible. Now, I'm not going to put that down to just the pellets because, like I said, I really only give them a feed of these pellets maybe once a week, but I'm all about diversity. So I mix up my frozen foods, I mix up my liquid foods, and now I mix up my pellets as well, just to give them as complete of a diet as possible. I'll pop the link to the DRP website in the details below because there's a whole slew of information on what goes into making their foods on the website. I didn't want to go into every single detail here because it would be an incredibly long video, but if you are interested in finding out all of the nuts and bolts, I recommend you go to their website and check out all the details there. All I wanted to tell you or show you was how much my fish love them and how affordable the products are. All right, on to the third and final innovative reefing product made right here in Australia that I want to showcase to you today is these frag plugs from Feral Frag Plugs. Now, what I love about this is the backstory to it. Dave's a reefer here in Australia and his partner Stephanie had been doing some arts and crafts with some resin products before when their two sort of interests collided. Next thing you know, they are making these incredibly cool resin-made frag plugs for your reef tank. And what's cool about these things is one, they come in a huge range of colors, but two, they absolutely glow under reefing lights. Now, it's opened up a whole slew of opportunities, particularly in my opinion, for retailers. Rather than having to indicate the price of each one of their frags, say at a frag show, you could have the frag plugs correspond with the color of the note that they cost. So you could have blue ones for a $10 bill, or orange ones for a $20 bill, yellow ones for a $50, and green ones for $100, or maybe even a combo of the two, I don't know. Or if you're just a retailer that wanted to get frag plugs to match your store colors, the team can actually custom make them for you. Now, these do come in a range of different colors, themes, and styles. You can see here I have Tank Rave, which is an assortment of some bright colors. I recommend jumping on their Facebook page so you can have a look at all of the different options there. That'll also give you a list of the retailers which may be near you where you can purchase these Feral Frag Plugs, or if you cannot, you can always purchase directly from them. If you are a retailer and would like to get your business stocking these Feral Frag Plugs, that is also where you can reach out to the team. But enough on that, let's have a look at how these look in my frag tank. All right, we are in the Parker's Reef fish room at the moment in front of the Cade frag tank, and if we pan to the right there, you'll see the Feral Frag Plugs. They light up a little bit in ambient lighting, but as we get them closer and closer to the tank lights, it's almost as if the power source inside them is switched on and they start glowing. Particularly the yellows and oranges absolutely light up out of the dark, and it's pretty cool. I must admit, it's probably not something that's going to suit everyone's taste. However, I can see some really cool use cases for these, like categorizing your coral frags into different price categories, maybe into different light categories or flow categories or difficulty categories, even just getting the colors matched to your particular store or business colors, logos. You name it. The Feral Frag Plugs team are hand making these in New South Wales, Australia, so they're quite receptive to having a chat about what you could do with their incredible range of frag plugs to suit your use case. But I'm not quite sure how well it shows up on camera there. I'll get a close-up for you in a second. Each surface is sanded so that they're nice and, I guess for lack of better words, abrasive to make it easy to glue your corals to. And they're just heavy enough that they do sink in the aquarium, so they're not going to float around your frag tank. They sit in there quite well. The resin itself's also pretty easy to deal with. If you need to cut the stem off or do something like that, it's quite possible. But personally, I don't see that these are the sort of thing that's going to end up into your display tank. They're the sort of thing that you're going to grow a frag out in your frag tank and really utilize the colors to signify some different details about those frags. But once you go to put them in your display tank, you're probably going to cut that off because, I don't know, maybe you leave it on. Depends on what sort of look you're going for in your reef tank. But in a frag tank or in a store, I think these things are absolutely incredible. You can buy these directly from their page or from a number of retailers around Australia. So if you are interested, I'd recommend checking out their website, having a look at the different ranges of options there. And if there's something that you're interested in, reach out to Stephanie and say that you saw it on Parker's Reef and you'd like to talk about getting some custom Feral Frag Plugs made for your store, your coral wholesaler, or even just your own frag tank at home. All right, guys, there you have it. That is the 3 Aussie homegrown reefing products that I wanted to share with you guys today. I get the opportunity via this YouTube channel to review quite a lot of reefing products, and I have to say, not enough of them are made in Australia. So when I do see some good products coming out of Australia, I cannot help but share it with you guys at home. Be sure to reach out to each and every one of the manufacturers showcased in this video. Give them a big thumbs up and let them know you saw it on Parker's Reefs and you can't wait to get your hands on their products. It goes a long way to keeping this industry afloat. If you've got any questions about any one of the products, whether it be the Vortech Wavemaker guards, whether it be the DRP foods in all different sizes, and of course, whether it be the feral frag plugs, be sure to hit me up in the comment section down below. I do personally reply to each and every one of the comments down there, so it is the best way to get hold of me. And of course, I will put links to each of the manufacturers in the description down below. Adrian is a reefer at home printing these out in his 3D printer, so if you do need to get hold of him, I can give you a link to his Facebook details, but otherwise you can pick these up from Deer Park Aquarium. The other 2 products, I will give you their direct web link access in the comments below or in the description below. Other than that, guys, I think I'll wrap it up. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and all of that stuff. Till next time, stay safe and keep reefing. Cheers, bye.